Be prepared for a meandering bullshit episode. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 520 of the Dead Robot Society. Paulie Cooley here, and joining me today, as always, my wonderful co-host, my wonderfully bearded co-host, Terry Mixon. How's the beard, man?
It's recovering from the massacre that occurred before Vegas.
Now, see, on the pre-show, I was talking about the fact that we need to start a goal, a Patreon goal or something like that for, grow so many inches and you get so many. Well, that sounded wrong. You get so many.
What kind of show is this?
Well, this went radically wrong in a hurry. I'm just going to shut up now. How are you, man?
Apparently, I need to grow a few inches. And I let that awkward silence grow on purpose.
You bastard.
All I can say is I did not open that particular can of worms.
So how you doing, Terry?
Doing great. Other than the fact that my truck developed a leak a couple of days ago in the heavy rain, and I found out that my back window had that nice leak going on, but because of the way I had it parked, it ran from behind my head all the way down the truck, up the front side, and then started leaking into the floor from the very front of the car.
You are just a disaster area.
So I thought the front windshield was leaking. No, it was my rear windshield that was leaking. Very exciting.
So I don't even want to know how much that cost to fix.
Getting it resealed cost me $165. Whether or not I'm going to have to replace the headliner, that remains to be seen. It's stained all the way around, but I'm of the mind that, it's a pickup truck. If it doesn't fall down, I'm going to leave it the fuck alone. Of course, I'm a guy that used to own a beat up Buick. When the headliner started coming down, I used a stapler to staple the headliner back up.
Oh, that's terrible.
And I didn't care. So that should tell you something about me.
And how's the writing going?
Writing's going good. I've gotten 4 chapters into Raid on Terra. I'm excited about where I'm going. I was worried about having to integrate all the things that I'm going to have to juggle, but it seems to be working out pretty well. I'm excited about it. I'm going to really get rolling over the next couple of days. Now that I've got I've got 6 point of view characters in this particular book.
Yeah, you're screwed.
But it's working out okay. Now that I've worked my way through all of them, I have a baseline point to start them all off. It always seems like the first time I have a character doing anything, it's hard to write that scene. But once it's scene 2 involving that character, I've got the previous scene to build on.
Correct.
I've got things to go from there. So starting off a novel is always a little slow, but it's been a week. I've gotten all the characters' first scenes done. I'm moving ahead, and I anticipate it's going to pick up speed this next week. Other things going on. Bound by Honor, the next book with Glenn Stewart, was published today. So Yay! Listeners, you'll when you hear this, it will already be out and available for your reading pleasure. The audiobook for Freedom Express, book 2 in my Humanity Unlimited saga, is out. I'm excited about that. Earlier this month, the anthology that both of us are in, Luck is Not a Factor, came out. So things are looking good there. Things are turning up roses. I'm pretty damn happy.
Everything's turning up roses.
I wonder what that even means. That's an interesting turn of phrase that I have no idea what that even means.
I think it means you spread that shit all over it and it just grows as roses. Turn shit to roses.
Yeah, you could be right. What about you, man? What's going on with you writing wise? I think that you're have ditched Nano. Is that right?
Sort of, kind of, yes.
It's the 20th.
I know.
You think you're actually going to get back and get to 50K right now? Because having heard what you said, I don't think so.
No. I hit a problem where I want to write 3 books out of this, and I need to stop now. Because I was writing all 3 books at the same time, and it was not working out well. But more importantly than that, the the Black kept talking and wouldn't shut up.
Come to me.
So one day when I was working on Static, I just wasn't feeling it. I was confused about something. I was like, oh, let's go see what happened after evolution. And 10, what am I, 6,000, 7,000 words later? I wrote like 4K yesterday. I've already done 1,500 a day. I don't know what the freaking hell my word count is now, but wow, this is moving so fast. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to follow extinction as far as I can for as long as I can. And wouldn't it be funny if I got it done by the end of the year?
I think you could do it.
I think I can do it.
Once you get on a roll, I think you're going to make it happen.
Well, regardless, extinction caught my eye or caught my brain, and I had to dive into it. And for those people who have read Evolution, I think they know why. Speaking of, it's with the beta readers, and comments so far have been good. There hasn't been much found, really. Just some typos here and there. Maybe the wrong word snuck in. The usual crap. So unless somebody, unless one of the canaries in the coal mine dies, I think we'll be okay with it. Still waiting to hear back on cover art. Still waiting to hear back on other stuff with that. Jonesing to get everything back for Evolution because I want to get that book wrapped up so I can start recording.
You had me right there till the end, but I know you're going to finish out this series recording it.
I
just wish you could spend your time writing so you could just go berserk.
Yeah, well, I think this time, I keep saying this, when I finally got over whatever problems I had because of the hearing aids and everything else with destruction, the rest of Gare's Inferno was no problem. And Black is going to be more like that than Derelict. Not as many special effects, not as many characters, not as much of a pain in the freaking ass. So I think it'll go a lot faster. Narrating the Derelict books is just hard. It just is. So anyway, I hope to begin the audiobook as soon as I get the beta comments back. And then Sever Press will get it and we'll fine tune the manuscript and have to change something major and I'll go re-record it. Not a big deal. But want to try and get this out before the end of the year. And it'd be really cool if by the time it was published, Extinction was ready.
Having the next book ready when they start, that would be great.
That would be awesome.
That's where you need to have that meme of the guy from The Office. Yeah, that'd be great.
If you could just finish that story so we could read it, that'd be great. Yeah, pretty much the way it is. So in a holding pattern on everything else until I hear about that. But I love what I was writing with Static. I will get back to it. But as we discussed in next week's episode,
Time Travelers.
As we discussed in next week's episode,
as we've previously discussed in next week's episode.
There we go. Yeah, get this whole temporal thing. If I were a time traveler, I would be so damn confused about what tense to use. I will have had been doing what? Grammar Nazis would go insane. They would just lose their minds over that. It just had something like that. Well, as confusing as this conversation has turned out to be, it completely fits with this episode.
What was our episode about again?
Yeah, I named it Find the Topic. That should tell everybody how much of a mess it is.
Snipe hunt!
Yeah, so enjoy, maybe? We'll make it easier. Anyway, what are we going to talk about?
I still don't know.
God damn it.
We've been meandering along.
You're supposed to have ideas, man. You're supposed to have ideas.
I had a root canal yesterday. You're lucky I could think at all.
Oh, God.
How about this? Clearing our decks.
The palate cleanser.
No. I mean literally clearing our decks. We've got 500,000 projects ongoing at the same time. How do we clear our decks? Because over the last week, I've discovered that I've pretty much cleared my decks. I'm ready to start. I, in fact, have started writing Raid on Terra because I cleared the decks of all my other projects. I'm not quite really sure how it happened, but they're all gone.
Must be nice.
I know. It's very exciting. And then I wrote the first 800 words and said, "This sucks." and I'm throwing them away because I figured a better place to start it.
Okay. Yeah. I see that completely.
I started writing it because, I've got to bring two groups of people together. So I've got to start writing with one that's in progress. Things are already happening. And I wrote this scene where Jared is worried about a meeting that's taking place that he can't attend. And 800 words into him talking to somebody else, I said, he shouldn't be talking. He should be doing something. Oh, I don't know, like exploring a bioweapon protected by self-destruct charges of plasma. That's much more exciting. And I'm actually being completely and utterly serious.
I had a moment yesterday or actually a couple days ago, where I was like, I need something to happen here. I just have got to have something to happen. And then it happened. And I went, oh, okay, now we have this whole other subplot, you asshole, that we got to chase down.
See, the problem with, I left the Terra Gambit kind of in the middle of things. This literally is something that's going on right at the end of that book. It's not me throwing in something. It's them dealing with what I left them with.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. You're tying up the loose ends.
It's more like I'm using the loose end to make their lives a living hell.
Yeah. Tying up loose ends.
Now, what's going to be challenging out of this particular book is I've got to write from two different groups' perspectives as they work towards meeting up at Terra, because I want to get everybody back together. And I want to do it in this book. So I'm like sitting here going, exactly how many point of view characters am I going to use? How many is too many?
World.
How many is too many? And how many is too few when I'm dealing with two separate groups of people? I normally write with 4 point of view characters so that I have 2 scenes per chapter. So basically every other chapter, it's back to the same folks doing it before. If I stretch that out to 3 chapters with 2 chapters in between, that feels a little bit light on connecting with the characters. So I'm not sure I can do 6 people, but 2 people in each group feels kind of light. So I'm not sure precisely how I'm going to do that.
Well, the question really is, how many people do you absolutely need?
I don't know. I need at least 2 in each group, because if I only do 1, that person can't be everywhere that all the exciting things happen. I need to have at least 2 people so that I can be that way. 3 would be better, but that means 6 overall characters. I tried it with 5 or 6 before, and it felt a little out of control. But that may be because I was doing it in one group, in one plot line. Having split plot lines, that's a new experience for me.
Okay. Yes and no. I think you're looking at it the wrong way.
Wouldn't be the first time.
This is no different than having Jared sitting on the ship and Kelsey on the planet. There's no difference here. Or her on a space station and him in his battle cruiser. There's no difference here.
This is true. And that works just fine. For the most part. I don't really have to have a lot of characters, but I'd like to have 3 in each group. Simply because one of the characters in each group that's going to get attention is Princess Kelsey. Because there's 2 of them.
Oh my God. Terry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not read that part?
I remember this now.
So if I only have 2 characters in each group, half the book is Princess Kelsey.
You are a bad monkey. You are a bad, bad monkey.
I am the Z Nation of space opera.
And now I'm slipping into the Twilight Zone. Feels like being cloned. I can't remember a lot. I've heard that song 1,000 times, and I don't think I've ever know what he says in that song, because I just can't make out the mush. Very little I can remember. Anyway,
I'm going to figure out how many characters I need pretty fast, because almost certainly the way I'm going to make this work is I'm going to write half of the chapter from one side and half of the chapter from the other.
Right.
So I'll probably do a scene with Jared's side and a scene from Kelsey's side and alternate inside the chapter as opposed to trying to keep it separate, because otherwise it just gets confusing. If I do it that way, then it's not quite so confusing.
Okay, I gotcha. I chose to do it differently than that with Destruction.
That's because you just had like 67 points of view and they were all like 4 words long as they were killed.
It was more of a round robin, which is what, sort of you're talking about, but it was round robin with different groups, so to speak, because we have pilot, we have the captain, we have the guy leading, we have a lieutenant over the Marines, we have different uncommissioned officers, we have Black itself, and then we have the poor bastards aboard Mira. And there's 2 point of views on Mira, and then there's all these other point of views on the ship. Splitting it up that way required me to figure out I couldn't give everybody their own chapter, didn't want to. So what I would do is I would have other characters ruminating on what just happened to somebody else that they've been told, or what their new orders are and what they're thinking and where things are, and then bounce back to Mira into either, Callie or Dickerson's head. And then keep round robining between the 2 groups, because I didn't want to spend all that time, because what they were doing was relatively boring. So that's how I kept things moving along, and that meant I had to choose who I really wanted to get perspective from.
You gotta not write the boring parts.
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to.
You can make the boring parts interesting.
Yeah, I do my best. What I mean by boring parts is these are points where I don't think they're boring, but the points where they're not being chased or having to fight. No action for these folks.
Just because there's no action doesn't mean it's boring.
Right. I understand that. I was using that rather ironically.
Okay.
Silly man.
I think I need to go ahead and have Minnie as a point of view character here.
Why not? I did it with Luna. Well, no, point of view character. No, I have not done that.
As Minnie disdains everyone.
Disdains everyone but you.
She'll come down here and love me occasionally. That's how this works.
Yeah, right now she's looking at the camera.
One of the things that may differentiate the way we write is, for me, when I go into a character's head, I've discovered that the comfortable zone for a scene with something going on ends up being about 1,200 words. Plus or minus, usually not less than 1,000, usually not more than 1,500. And that's a scene. I don't bounce back and forth rapidly between characters, even in combat. That's just not how I think. That's not how I write. And that's personally my own style, and it doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. But I've learned to live with the fact that when I write a chapter, it's going to have 2 scenes. Gotcha. Almost certainly.
Okay. When I started Static, I set my word count per chapter, or to my target goal to be 2,500 words. That's my target goal. So far, I've only gone radically over that once, and I have a way to. I will wait to go back and fix it later. It's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, 2,500 words, 22 to 25, 2,600 words is typically how my chapters end up.
Yeah. So,
and I'm happy with that.
But I'm usually doing one scene, or I've got one scene that's morphing into another, because I like to play with camera angles. I should have been a cinematographer. Really should have been.
Talk to Charlie. He can hook you up.
Yeah, it's getting bad. Anyway, that's where I'm trying to get to with the sweet spot now. And I tried to do that with Evolution as well, but there are a couple places where I just needed 300 words. And so I just did 300 words rather than having to stretch it out into something it wasn't.
Sure.
And didn't need to be.
I've seen a ton of authors do that and do it well. It's just not me. It's not the way my voice works.
Stephen King has done a one-word chapter before.
Yeah. I think it's like the word fuck.
I think it's boom.
Insert loud boom here.
I think that, well, yeah, except I think it was done on purpose. It was something like that.
It probably was.
But the point is that the chapters need to be as long as they need to be. But with thrillers and suspense and things like that, where you're trying to build the tension, the shorter chapters are going to be more effective at that.
Sure.
But at the same time, do what you got to do. There sometimes it just can't cut it where it needs to cut. There's no place to cut it.
We were just talking about openings not so long ago. And as I wrote that first 800 words, every single paragraph going on, I'm going, I'm bored. I'm bored. This is not right. Where I'm going here is not working. There's something wrong. And so I didn't even finish the scene, stopped at 800 words and said, nope, I've got to figure out something else because this isn't exciting.
Time for Dead of Heaven.
Go to the orthodontist and sitting in the waiting room for root canal part 2. And I say, oh, well, I've got all these other problems going on. Instead of talking about it, I should have him doing it. No, literally. I initially had him talking to the engineer that was examining the bioweapon and the explosives placed on it by someone else that is not their friend.
Gotcha.
And I said, I shouldn't have him talking and asking how that's going. I should have him right there while it's happening. And that's how the book needs to open.
Yeah, that's a much better beginning.
It is. It's a totally better beginning because it gets you right into the story. You can still put in the little pieces. What I had written in those 800 words was what has come before. That's how that worked out for me. And I said, I don't want to write what's come before. I understand that I left these poor bastards hanging in the middle of this, and there's still things going on that the readers need to know about, but I can have that as bitching while he's doing something that could blow up in his face and kill everyone.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Pretty much, except not nearly as exciting.
Throwing the hand grenades. Oh my God.
But yeah, it's a lesson to all of us that no matter how many novels we've written, we can have false starts. We can start something and realize that it's not the right thing and put a stop to it, or write on till we find the start of the novel and discard everything that came before it. There are various ways that you can find and zero in on the place to start that thing. I could have let it stop me, but I'm not. I'm now even more hyped to go ahead and get working on this. It's not going to happen tomorrow since I had dental crap this morning, but that's off my plate now until next month. No more dental crap till next month.
Yay!
Then I get a tooth pulled and start an implant procedure. Very exciting.
Don't.
Those bastards are going to go ahead and do a teeth cleaning before they pull my teeth. That's like double torture. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the check is in the mail. Anyway, I dumped 12 chapters of Evolution. 12 chapters.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's 12 chapters for you. That's like half a book for everyone else.
Now, they weren't all finished, but they were false starts for a plot twist. Each one of them with a different plot twist. And I quickly figured out I didn't want to go down that road. Just did not want to go down that road. I could have. Terry and I were talking about this in the pre-show. There were so many things I could have done and chose not to do.
Sometimes you can come up with too many ideas, some of which are all good. I mean, maybe they're all good in a story, but you've got to be a little bit more concise over which ones you're going to use, or you end up with a David Weber doorstopper.
Well,
coming in at 350,000 words, the next short story by Brandon Sanderson.
Oh God, I boxed myself in with my own timeline, so I had to I couldn't drag this out into weeks and weeks and weeks, and that limited the plot line severely. Otherwise, things would have developed at an unnatural pace, and it just would have been so freaking wrong. But so I cut them, I dumped them. Not a failure. Some of them were actually pretty good. Some of them were good ideas. There was some good writing in there, and it got flushed.
Personally, I think that anytime you feel the need to flush something, you need to have that woman that was hosting, what was it, $1 Million something. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. The show was called The Weakest Link.
Okay, there we go. I remember the woman. I don't really remember the show. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah. It's tough because sometimes you're like, I worked so hard on that stuff and now I'm going to throw it away.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah, it just doesn't just go for the characters. It is annihilation time. And I edited this book pretty hardcore because of all the changes I made in the last third. Just had to get done.
I finished reading through the Terra Gambit before I tried to finish it before I went to the con, but the last 6 chapters ended up having to wait until after I got back. Luckily, I didn't have to do any major cutting, but I found 3 or 4 different little minor things that I had to tweak and change because I introduced minor continuity errors that neither I nor any of the readers noticed. At least if they noticed, they didn't tell me about them. I was going to send a unique artifact with them and mentioned it, and then sent it with Princess Kelsey because I forgot. So obviously the paragraph that mentioned that they were going to get it needed to come out. I inadvertently changed the name of a minor character, and there may have been a couple of other little minor things that had to be tweaked, things like that. See, that's what happens if you don't keep a story Bible. You'll change the name of people. I'm reading along. Hey, wait a minute. This person had a different name back at the start of this book. Flip, 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 flip.
I had when I first started this, I had a team of engineers that were like Larry, Moe, and Curly, and their personalities weren't formed, and I couldn't remember their names, and I went, that's a sign that they don't need to be here. And I was struggling to find things for them to do, so I finally decided to cut all of it.
I'm going to grab something real quick and show the viewers here.
Uh-oh. Terry's got ADD today. Have you noticed?
One of the things that I did that I had to do for the Terra Gambit as I was going along is I make notes. Now, when I'm done, these are plot notes. These are ideas of anytime I was reading the book and I said, oh, this could have implications further on. This is a detail of the book that I need to keep track of. For the Terra Gambit, I've got something like 25 pages of these handwritten notes. For Hidden Enemies, I've got 7 or 8 pages, 7 pages. Go figure. And as I'm going along, I'm writing for the next book. I haven't written the first scene yet, but I've got a timeline. This is an outline that I'm going to be writing as I go. The character, who's in it, what's going on, so that while I'm writing it, I can say, where did I do this thing? And go back and try to keep track of it. When I read it again, when I'm done writing it, I'll make the plot notes. And that's how I make sure that I don't introduce more continuity errors in the middle of the damn book. So I'm ready this time. I've got my outline on one pad and my notes on the other. I am ready for this damn book. Finally, after 15 books, I've got my act together. Don't be me. Don't be Terry. Keep it outline as you write so you don't change somebody's clothes to something else while you're going along, and keep plot notes so that when you write the next book in the series, you don't forget everything that you think might carry forward.
Yeah, luckily for me, Trident, I already wrote all that stuff down right after I finished Destruction and was starting Trident. Everything was fresh in my mind. So I think I covered up all the lingering questions that the last book left open. I got those started again and addressed again before I started writing the insanity that they're dealing with, and I've left them in the midst of.
And on top of that, I have a person reading the various books and making story Bibles for them so that I can refer back and say, oh, that character back in book 2, who the hell was he? Maybe I could use him now. The person is almost caught up with my current stuff. So almost there.
You heard it here, for folks. I can't talk. Terry just uses his characters. He doesn't even leave money on the counter afterwards.
I leave other things. Believe me, I don't leave them wanting.
Anyway.
You pervert.
I'm a pervert?
You're the one that brought up the nastiness, Mr. Triple X.
You know what? When I go back and edit this, I'm really going to have to pay attention to whether or not what you say has anything to do with what I've said.
Obviously, you were saying something perverted, because that's the way you roll.
Something that struck perversion in your mind, maybe.
You mean like my last comment did in you, so you couldn't stop laughing?
You just did it again. Oh my god. I may cut some points of view for Trident. I may cut some. I may cut some from the rest of the series where we don't hear from those people again.
One of the things that I've discovered I'm now on book 10 in the Empire of Bones. And I have pages and pages of plot hooks that I have decided not to use for one reason or another. When I get them back home, I have a rich tapestry to go back and go, you know that thing? I could do that thing. Poop. And people look back and say, that's brilliant. He put that in back in book 3, and here he is using it. He must have outlined this sumbitch to death. No, I have no clue what I'm writing. But I make notes of the things that I leave hanging open so I can use them later and look like a genius.
Yeah, look like a genius.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I am like Sherlock Holmes' stupider brother. And I know it was Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother, but yeah.
You've been making a lot of confessions today. I think we have a lot of dirt on you now. More so than usual.
I can live with that.
You could... Hopeless.
Even though, you know, what happened in Vegas probably should have stayed in Vegas.
Well, I'm not even going to address that because I'm too much of a gentleman or something like that.
When did that start?
It never did. It never ended. Something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So the anthology that we're in is doing well.
That's what I've seen. It's kicking some serious ass.
Yeah, this will be interesting because I've watched my author rank and sales rank jumping around since that came out. So it'll be...
Being in a popular anthology does not harm you.
No, it does not. It does not. I just hope that some people who read Derelict aren't getting something other than what they expected. Although I think my short story kind of set them up for the kinds of stuff I write. So... I think they were fair warned.
Anthologies are great advertising.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You just have to be willing to accept that you may not make all that much money on them.
Sure. When I go into every anthology that I agree to do, and there are some that I have done and some that I have not done, it's never about the money. If I decide to do something, it's because I believe it's going to reach an audience that is worth my time, that's worth the effort of writing the story, or that I've never touched before. Some folks that I've never had a story in front of. Those type of things are what I'm thinking about. I basically write the short story and go, I'm never going to see another penny on this. If I do, it's gravy.
I can see that. Sometimes the short stories are just they're just there for a palate cleanser. They may never get published. You may never chase them down or anything else. They may linger around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
during the Vegas conference, I basically have lined up 2 more short stories to write for anthologies. So that was worthwhile too.
Have you thought about submitting anything to the SFWA anthologies they do?
They do anthologies.
They have at least one.
I know that they do book bundles. I have been paying attention to the SFWA anthologies.
I think they have one. Or that they're in partnership. I don't remember how
they
it works.
May be in partnership with somebody. I honestly have no idea. I've only been involved with the book bundle stuff.
Okay. I was just curious if anybody we know has ever really done that or what those options are available. I haven't looked. I see every once in a while I'll get an email about this anthology for horror writers or, SFWA, whatever. But I haven't really paid all that much attention to it. I guess I really, really should.
Considering that SFWA is the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, I'm not sure how many horror anthologies you're going to get out of that.
No. I was talking about HWA.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I'm in both.
Right.
So,
if they're doing an anthology, you should jump it.
Well, they're publishing those anthologies in their newsletters. But that doesn't mean it's one that you want to be in necessarily.
You've got to do looking and try to guess at what their audience is.
Well, yeah, and you also have to look at who's editing it.
That's important too.
Yeah, sometimes extremely important. So I need to spend some more time on that, but right now I've got more than enough things to write. and more than enough things to work on that people, would really. But my bank account would very much like to see more, money from the black. So evolution is kind of a priority at this point.
Maybe if you weren't writing 130,000 word novels.
This one's only 95.
Hey, that's short for a novel.
It's 95 for one of Paul's novels. Yes, it's the shortest novel I've written since Arrival. No, actually, that's not true. Shortest since Marines. Yeah,
there you go.
Shortest since Marines. So yes, I made.
They had a panel on military science fiction while I was at the convention. That was interesting as well.
Oh, okay, explain. Talk about this panel.
Well, it was in front of the main audience, and it had, I think it was 5 different people that write military science fiction on it. And the moderator was asking them questions about military science fiction in general, introducing the whole concept to the audience as at large. And then they took questions at the end of it, people asking how various things worked with it. I'd have to look at the live stream to know what they did again, because I was sitting with David and we were talking while it was going on.
You were those guys talking.
We were talking softly. We were talking quietly.
God, I hate you people. I hate you people that do that.
I'm just mad because I didn't win the drawing for the trip to Aruba.
Aruba. Well, what they say about science, military sci-fi?
They talked about how it's different from just regular science fiction, space opera, how you could incorporate use of the military and military action into your stories. It was all very general questions. It was all very introductory.
Okay, so just basically an overview of the genre in general.
Exactly.
Were there any particular things you found that you disagreed with what they said?
No, I don't remember anything that I disagreed with.
Was there anything?
Now, their take on, I remember thinking that their takes on what military science fiction could be stretched a pretty large spectrum. And I had to make, some cracks when they were saying, yeah, you got to be careful how you put your Marines in this because you get them wrong and the fans are going to let you know about it. I was like, that's Paul. That's what I told David. That's Paul.
I wasn't trying to recreate the USMC. So,
I got lectured by somebody for something else. I got lectured about the capitalization of Marines. And I'm like, okay. Nah, never mind. I do not capitalize Marines in my own universe.
Gotcha.
I started capitalizing it, and my editor said, you realize that only Marines actually capitalize it. It's not supposed to be. The rest of the world does not capitalize it. Only if you're a Marine. Pretty much. That's what they said.
Oh, man.
So let's get into a grammar war with ground forces. Little Marines versus capitalized Marines. Begin.
God. Da 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 da. Fatality.
Flawless victory.
Flawless victory. No, somehow
finish him.
Doubt that. That part I can hear happening.
That was Star Trek.
Oh, oops, sorry. I thought that played
the fight versus Kirk versus Spock in Star Trek.
I thought that played every time.
I saw someone else say on social media via a blog post that they were a military science fiction author because they wrote a ton of Star Trek books. I'm sorry. Star Trek is not military science fiction. You may wish it was, but it's not.
No, not even close.
Not even close. I read that and went,
no, we're not doing this.
They might have had ranks. They might have had a organization that, for the uninitiated, looked like the military. It was not.
That would be like saying a freighter is in the military because it's got,
Merchant Marine on board?
Yeah, Merchant Marines on board, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Not quite the same thing at all. So, in other words, it has to be recognizable as military and actually have, is their mission something along military lines?
Here's the deal. Military science fiction can be written from the point of view of people in the military or by people involved in a war that aren't in the military, but it involves a galactic war of some kind going on. There's a wide range of what is military science fiction, and part of that is the war you're fighting. And that's why Star Trek is not military science fiction. They're not fighting a war. They are not fighting a war for survival. You are not writing military science fiction if you're writing Star Trek. You got to have that fight, because if there's no fight, there's no war.
Interesting.
That's my opinion.
Very interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. Woo! We're going to get some comments on that.
Are we? I'm ready for those comments.
We might.
I'm more than willing to discuss in detail. I'm going to make a note here. I'm going to make a note.
Oh no.
We're going to have an episode on military science fiction talking with somebody.
I think we already did that.
Yeah, but only with us. We should have it with somebody else whose opinions might be more fun than ours.
Whose opinions might actually be close to being true.
Yeah.
Or being accurate.
Well, accurate is, it is what relevant. It is.
Their opinions are relevant. Ours, not so much.
But it would be an interesting conversation to actually have to talk about the genre in more depth with other than just us.
So what if it's a soldier, they're not in the middle of a war, maybe the war is far away that's going on, and they're just dealing with stuff back home? Does that count?
You can have episodes of something where you're not in the middle of combat. It doesn't have to be fighting all the time, but it can never be far from the surface of what you're doing.
Okay.
Otherwise, right. It's not really military science fiction. See, now there's a series that I'm listening to in Audible that its name eludes me at this particular moment, that it is basically Age of Sail space opera, military science fiction. So the ships are very much like the Age of Sail master and commander type of thing, but there's a war going on in the background. During the first part of it, the first book, they only had some minor encounters, and the war started up really not where they were. They had a little bit of action going on into it, but it was there hanging over their heads. And I'm in book 3 now, the war is in full progress. The main character has been involved in fighting. There have been battles. Things have been done. It's definitely military science fiction.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that for $1. I guess. I would if I could find my wallet, but I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Oh shit, it's Tuesday.
Awkward.
I hate it when that happens.
We should ask the on the Facebook. I'll make the post to do that. Ask what genres people would like to have roundtables about. I am sure everything under the sun is going to be mentioned.
Oh, probably.
We're going to bring on a bunch of romance authors to school Paul on how to write sex.
I know how to write sex. God.
Experience counts, man.
Oh. See, the problem is you just have never read Garaga's Children. You don't understand what I'm capable of.
It's true.
So there you go. Shut the fuck up until you know something. You're ignorant.
I do not deny this. My ignorance is like a badge of honor.
Oh, God. You're one of those. I'm
actually not one of those.
I saw an article today about people believe that the Earth is shaped like a donut.
I've heard somebody think that Antarctica is really a shelf of ice that goes all the way around the world, and everything inside of it is the Earth, and it's flat. I kid you not. I have heard this mentioned as reality.
You know, the problem is when you can't believe anything, when there's no touchstone of reality left to even agree upon, you cannot possibly have any form of cooperation, of unification, of even agreement on what happens, what happened, what will happen. There has to be some basis, some tenets of foundation fucking somewhere.
You
And
have
it's
to
like,
have elements of commonality, at least to have a discussion.
and the Earth is flat thing is just like, go read Galileo and how he figured this out without all these fancy instruments that you have no belief in. There's a reason the church excommunicated him, guys, because he proved it.
Actually, the bits I've read say that it wasn't the proving the Earth was round part; it was something else that got him zapped. But that's neither here nor there.
No. He took Earth out of the center of the universe. Well, actually, I guess it was Copernicus, but basically, Copernicus.
Galileo got zapped for something else.
Yeah, he got zapped for something else. I don't remember what it was now. God damn it. Anyway, Copernicus supposedly took Earth out of the center, figuring the sun was the center.
And the church had no problem with that. They literally did not have a problem with it at the time.
I have to go look at that. I don't remember that time period very well. Regardless.
There's a meme going around that I've seen a couple of times that shows the square flat map of the Earth and says that the World War II could not possibly have happened because look how far away Japan and Hawaii were, because they're on the opposite sides of the map, and they draw a line all the way around the bottom of the map. See how far this is?
I'm still hoping that was somebody trolling.
I hope it is, but every time you hope that something is trolling, you find out more people believe that there are aliens visiting the Earth than know Hawaii is the 50th state. And that is actually a true set of figures. More people believe that aliens have visited the Earth than know that Hawaii was the 50th state.
I want to see the poll data on this. I want to see who they polled. I want to see where this happened. What group of humanity were they polling that we have this problem? Because that place needs to be educated quick.
Yep, them there aliens, they kidnapped Uncle Bob, and he ain't never been the same since.
I can believe that happened. I've seen the aliens too.
They got nothing better to do than plant probes.
Oh, the blackmail materials piling up.
Some things you can't even joke about nowadays because it's become difficult.
Well, it's worse though, because now everything can be altered. So for instance, you could easily cut out sections of this video, put it together, and it makes you look like you're saying something you're not.
Absolutely.
Without context on either side of what you said, you have no idea what the point was.
Yeah. That is a problem nowadays. It's so easy to do. Now, there was something going on Facebook that I know you would, not on Facebook, on Saturday Night Live, that I know you'd get a kick out of. I forget, Pete Davidson is one of the comedians on there. He's a young guy. Is it Pete Davidson? Probably not. I probably got his name mangled because a couple of weeks ago, he put up an image of a guy running for Congress that had an eye patch on. And he was saying he looked more like somebody that was a hitman in a porno than somebody running for Congress. And of course, then he had to make the comment of, yeah, he lost his eye in Afghanistan or something. Turns out the guy was a special forces lieutenant commander that did 3 tours in Afghanistan and lost his eye to an IED explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And so they caught tons of shit for mocking him for that, for just maybe not mocking him for the hitman thing, but mocking him, but just to throw off comment about or something with his combat. So the next week they invited him on to get a little payback and to apologize in person, because as the comedian said, as my friends well know, I made an ass of myself, some variant thereof. It will not shock my friends to know that I made a terrible error in judgment last week. And then explaining that he was wrong and apologizing for himself and for the show. And then they brought the actual guy out there so that he could accept the apology in person and say that we're good. We're good. And then immediately as soon as he said, we're good, his phone rang and it was an Ariana Grande ringtone. which the comedian that had been doing the mocking had broken up, had been dumped by Ariana Grande.
Oh no.
So he's playing this, and the comedian has just got that look on his face like, wow, really? An Ariana Grande ringtone? And the guy's like, oh, you know her?
Oh. That's
Are
rough.
Are you going to answer that? No, it would be rude to talk on the phone here. I'm just going to let it roll over to the voicemail. So we'll just let this play out. It was that kind of thing. It was really funny. And they closed out this segment, you know, with him mocking a couple of pictures of the comedian and saying, the guy saying, you know, here in this age, we just need to be able to forgive mistakes. We have to be able to accept apologies. People make mistakes. People do things they shouldn't. We should be bigger than that. We should go say, I accept your apology. Let's move on. Let's find other areas of compromise. And I agree with that.
I agree with that too. Except when it comes to you.
Except me. There should be no compromise when it comes to me.
There's no compromise.
No quarter.
No quarter given on this show, Bubba. None whatsoever. We have gone through a shit ton of topics that have absolutely no linchpin between them. Thank you for that.
I am not responsible. You're hosting this mess.
Oh my God. Hosting is the wrong word to use.
I am still scattershot from the convention, from coming back, from the root canal, from the dental procedure this morning. I've just got so much going on in my head that it's hard for me to pin down on a certain subject. I am like bouncing off the walls today.
Yes, we've noticed. Your ADD is an overdrive.
It is. It totally is. And I just wanted to sit down and talk with you about every single thing that's happening. Every single one.
If you'd like to complain about Terry, send an email to show@devrobotssociety.com. If you'd like to tweet us, you can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us at Facebook on the Listeners, the Dev Robot Society Facebook group page. See, I got that right. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 4 billion episodes of DRS available for your ear holes. You can find us at youtube.com/DRS podcast if you want to see our ugly mugs. And if you'd like to help us keep the show on the air, pay hosting costs, and tip me for all the work I do on the show, you can become a Patreon supporter, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to live shows and other exclusive crazy content. And if you're at the $10 level, you get your name read every
Hopefully
week.
You folks have gotten original here with your little quotes in the middle, because it's been getting kind of stale. Paul's not been troubled by your quotes.
No, I have not. Sue Bayman, JD Barker, Kelson, banging your head against a wall for 1 hour burns 150 calories. So how much weight have you lost, NaNoWriMo? I feel your pain. Isabel Cushy, Rick, looking for resolution in Tunguska's Shaw. Lisa Slack, Sandy Manpants, Cheryl Winters, Tracy Bodine, John Kilgallen, Devin Lee, Drew Magic Rally Catfish Bernardi, Got Nothing, Chris Winder, Andre Conde Morez, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Handley. Thank you, folks, very much.
Thank you a whole bunch, because we appreciate your support, and it keeps Paul, enslaved and doing all the sound.
Yes. Enslavement. That's exactly what this is. It's like indentured servitude. No, it's really not.
Why don't you just try it differently? Why don't you have dentured servitude?
Dentured servitude?
Sure.
I'll have to look up and see if that's grammatically even possible to put together. Dentured servitude.
They take your teeth unless you do what we want.
On that note, we're going to say goodbye now. Say goodbye now, Terry.
Goodbye now, Terry.
Thank you. We have to do the
got to do the intro for 520.
Damn it. Oh my God. As opposed to 420. All right. So
you would think it's 420 if you were whole 420-ish.